And you've got a lot going on. Let's just introduce, first of all, you are not a tech coach, correct?
I am not. I'm director of technology.
I am so glad you're here because as a tech coach, one of our roles is to not only have great relations with our staff members, but having great relations with our what we call our uppers. And in many situations, there is a philosophy that tech coaches have, which is, can we, this is cool, this is fun. Whereas the tech director is, yes, that's great, but we have safety, security, Active Directory, all of these things. Jim, you're going to be on the hot spot today.
Chief, thanks.
And you're also going to be representing every tech director. So I don't feel
no pressure.
You're not on the spot.
What does the tech director feel, think, fill in the blanks about the tech coach position? Sometimes I see them as buddy. Sometimes I see them as mortal enemies. Where do you land on this?
I am an advocate, a longtime advocate, and because I won't say it takes some of the work off of us, as tech directors, but because sometimes we're left to training, support, and those types of things. So if we can, those tech directors they can help meet some of those in between, kind of be that go-between. It really helps cut down on a lot of the calls and or questions that we receive. So, like I can go out and fix something for somebody, and sometimes if I have to do a longer repair or something like that, or they say, hey, I don't know how to work with Google Classroom or Microsoft Office, I could always say, well, you can go to the tech coach for that kind of thing. So I find them more helpful. And so I've changed my philosophy on like you mentioned about open and being secure and Active Directory and those kind of things. I let teachers run with just about whatever they want. I'm more of an open, only block what's necessary kind of thing, so rather than being more restrictive, because it creates more headaches.
Talk about these relationships, because I know a lot of school districts, the tech coach works under the tech director. There are some tech coaches that are teachers that have the stipend as tech coach, so they're not really working for a tech director. They're still under the building principal. And then there's some tech coaches that are under curriculum. And then there's some tech coaches that kind of by contract go between the tech director with the curriculum person. Where do you see the tech coaching position? Where is it best to fit in? How do school districts properly create a successful technology integration program that fits everybody's needs?
Most cases, I guess most cases, I need to speak with specifically to, I'm familiar with Pennsylvania, and I don't know how it works in other states, but like I can't supervise a teacher because I don't have that supervisory certificate. So, and I can't speak for other states. So unless I had that teacher could not report to me. So it has to report to a principal. I think the best place for that tech coach is that area. There's a great book about leading from the middle, and that's where I see tech coaches. So they lead from that. They're not really fully administration. They're not really teachers, but they lie in that area between. And I think, again, they serve that great purpose between a principal and a technology director. Now, I don't say unique. I speak both sides. I can speak geek, so I can sit with you and talk about TCP/IP and pings and packets and Active Directory, but I can also talk about lesson planning and curriculum development and those kind of things. So, that's where that technology coach needs to fall. They need to have some knowledge of the technology so they can say, hey, my principal really wants to do live streaming because of the COVID thing. What can you do? I know our network bandwidth might not be, significant enough or whatever. So you need to have that bridge so that they can break it down into terms that the principal or the other administration can understand sometimes.
So I have a question, if that's okay.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So as a tech director,
I'm speaking for all technology directors.
Exactly.
All of them. Yes.
All of them.
Everyone.
So as a technology director, as the technology director, I apologize.
I should take the doctor out of my name.
Do you find yourself working with like the folks from accountability as well as teaching and learning or instructional, or as in, I would assume that the technology director would have to work with all of those different departments, understanding that the coaches may fall under him or fall under a principal, but as a director yourself, do you get to work with, or do you have to work with the folks in accountability and the folks with teaching and learning or instruction, depending on your district? How does that work?
Yeah, I work at a really small school, so I work at a single high school. It's a single, but I've worked at other schools. So, what's the unique about the technology director position in general is that it does get to touch. It's sort of like maintenance. It gets to touch every aspect of a building or a district. So I get to work with the finance office and their accounting, down how that works. And I get to work with, guidance counseling, and I get to work with, all different areas of the building because of the nature of the job, because you have to be in every classroom and you have to be in every office. So you get to see different parts and pieces that are moving around. So you can see that. So one of the things, like, I have a friend in Kansas, Ginger Lumen, who talks about things being in silos. And hold on, I'm sorry. Things being in silos. Well, the being a technology director, you get between all the silos. So my wife is calling me. Hold on. I need to 1 second.
So as we're going through here, I'll pull him back in just a second. I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable here. Tyler, when you're listening to somebody like Jim, who of course, again, is speaking for all tech directors, you're coming into this tech coaching position really for the first time. Talk to us a little bit about what your chain looks like. Are you reporting to a principal? Are you reporting to a tech director? How does that look for you?
So I report directly to the principal in my building, and over him we've had a NAMPA personalized learning, so NPL is what we call it, where they are kind of head of the tech coaches in a way, who then reports to the head of instruction and the head of the technology side. So there is that hierarchy, but also what's been awesome about my district is we can still have that direct link between the teacher to the tech director, go through the tech coach to get to them. And that part is key, because a lot of times, I'm sure this will come up, is when we have a question of, well, I want to do this, but I can't, why? And they're willing to say, well, okay, well, I see what you're saying, but these are the reasons why. It's a privacy issue. It's not an issue of capability. And hearing that, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then we try to find something else that'll do the same thing that falls under those privacy guides.
Makes sense.
Very much. That's a great point. And, being that liaison between the tech coach and the teachers, is a huge role. And I find myself in that role. I like Jim's, I haven't read that book, but just that term, leading in the middle, I feel like that's where I kind of stand. I'm not really an admin, kind of, sort of. I don't have an admin certificate, but, I'm under the assistant superintendent. I'm over K-12 technology integration, and, I have to make sure everything runs seamlessly in the area of integration, as well as doing my tech coaching duties and, taking my coworkers under my wing and making sure they're on track. So, good stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was reading some of the comments during Jen talking just now, which, side note, it's kind of funny. I used to work with Jen just right down the road in Meridian. But this person said that their school district will not let the teachers and students use Flipgrid, which is unfortunate. And for me, looking at that from a teacher standpoint, from a tech coach standpoint now, we see everybody using it. and people want to. So I guess my question to you, Jim, is when you run into situations like that where everybody's using a tool and they're being told that they can't, how do you approach that with getting the message back as to the why?
Well, who's telling them they can't?
They're just saying that their school district will not let teachers use Flipgrid, for example.
Okay, so again, I'm very open, and my question, my comment back to that is, tell me why. So, if it's the technology director, I know technology directors that block YouTube, and they block, because of whatever reason, or, but to me, it comes back to classroom management. So you can work with the tech coaches on how they can use technology and how teachers can manage a classroom that's full of technology. So, I want reasons why, and then we can fight those reasons. For 9 times out of 10, I approve whatever requests the teachers have. Now, one thing I don't want to say we standardized on, like I had some teachers using Zoom and I had some teachers using Google Meet. We finally said, we're all going to use Google Meet. That was just more of we're just going to standardize, I guess is the right word. So, we'll get a lot of that, like I'm using this extension to edit PDFs, or I'm using this app, or I'm using this thing. Like, let's get a couple of teachers together and let's standardize on something rather than me, or we don't have a true tech coach, but we have a lady teacher, that helps a lot of professional development, does a lot of the technology training, or does some of the technology training. So let's standardize on one of them, so that's sort of like the things. So we had teachers using Screencastify, or we had them using Loom or something like that. So we just said, let's standardize. Now that Screencastify is no longer free, we're going to standardize on Loom. So, how would a tech coach or teacher start that conversation? So just walk up to me personally. I'm very open, and if you want something and it's being blocked, tell me why you need it, or that sort of thing. I'm very open to those types of conversations. I'm not in your classroom. I don't know why you may or may not need that application or that. If you can show me that it's, as long as it doesn't violate our school AUP kind of thing, as long as it does, I'm open for it, because you can use it in your curriculum.
So Tyler, you're the new tech coach on the road, so we're kind of using you as that example. So
he's the only tech coach, right?
He is
the only
coach. He's speaking for him all. So obviously you're coming in with not necessarily an agenda, but a vision of how you want to reach your teachers. How do you share your vision with your administrators and not step on the toes of the vision that already exists?
Yeah, and that's a good question. It goes back to the central theme of what has been discussed all day. It goes back to those relationships. Is you have to build that relationship so that they can understand where you're coming from. Because if one example, we use DAC at our school. We have 10 TVs mounted around the building, and we can post messages, pictures. It's an amazing tool. And when I brought that up to my principal, he sat there and listened. He chewed on it for a second, and he goes, "You know what? That is awesome. To be able to put kids' pictures up in real time." Then he's like, "Let's do it. Let's go. What do you need?" And we were able to do that. And this was a year and a half ago. And previous admins that I've worked for in various districts and schools would have been like, "Yeah, no." But it was because of the relationship I had, I was able to explain the vision. And then that first day when we had, kid, I'll just use generic name, when we had Billy walking down the hall, sees the TV on, and he stopped. He goes, "That is me. I'm on TV." And he would not leave until his picture cycled through again. And this is a kid who, was always in trouble, always in the office. And now he started to take pride in what he was doing just because of that simple little thing. Whereas previous admins, wherever at, might have been like, "Well, that's okay, I get it, but where's the value?" But that first kid, I saw it and I'm like, okay, yes. and we've since then it's actually bled into multiple schools around our district has taken that idea, and I'm turning into the DAC board guy.
That's awesome.
So it's fun, but it's kind of consuming. But it's awesome to see where one little thing, because of a relationship with my principal, is now impacting a lot of people. But more importantly, it's impacting the kids.
Yeah, and I was thinking about what Jim said about his smaller district and how he's always asking about the why. And that in my district, we only have, I don't know, I have friends that work in New York public schools, so their district is really big, but we only have 45,000 students in my district. And, yeah.
Only.
But okay, so we have 45,000 students in our district, and so we have 4,000 teachers, and of course teachers find tools all the time, and they want to use different tools, and we do have some of them block, and our process is a little bit more closed, I guess. The tech director, not tech director, the IT director and I, we have a great relationship, and I can go to him and ask him about different tools, and he'll say, yeah, that sounds fun. We'll open it up. Let's do that. And usually it's a parent will call the super or call the school board and say, do you know that the kids are allowed to do this and this and this online? They don't ask why they're doing it or why they have the access or anything. And then I'll get an email, hey, Greg, we have to block that. And I'm like, but why? So even though we're a big district, we get a lot of political stuff going on inside of our district. And I try to leverage my relationships with those folks in command, so to speak, the director of IT versus the assistant superintendents. And I try not to have conversation with school board members because that's not my duty, but just getting them to be able to go to bat for whatever application or whatever tools that I think will help the teachers. And we always start with the why. So Jim, that was great when you say, ask them why. We always start with the why. Why do we want to do this? Why? With everything, why? So
my question, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead.
No, so you also have different layers of, again, I'm a one-man show, into IT. So, 45,000 students and however many thousand teachers you had, it's like, it's not just one IT director. You've got a network administrator in there, and you've got help desk people. So at what level at some of these school districts is someone saying no? So you might have a tech director who's very open, but his network administrator might be very closed-minded, because it's one more thing they have to support and a little bit more overhead.
Yes.
So when you start talking about this, you have to look at scope as well. So I'm very fortunate in that it is just me, but it's also just me. Yeah. So it's a blessing and a curse, if you will. So those conversations don't always necessarily have to happen at the top. They can happen in between, or those the relationships.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like better to have a great relationship with the principal's secretary than it is to have with the principal, because they can get things done a little bit sometimes. Yes. It's things like that you have to know where to do it. And the role of technology, again, allows you to enter all of these areas. So, and even to me, a tech coach can help a secretary. They use Google Apps or they use Microsoft products. And, I get secretaries asking me all the time, hey, how do I set a red receipt? I just had one, Friday or Saturday or Thursday. How do I do a red receipt? Those little things, those little conversations are all opportunities to improve the way that we do things, or have conversations about how we can improve the school regardless of size.
We have a few minutes left here, and I want to make sure that I pick Jim's brain enough to make sure that I get all the frustrations out here. Here's the question for you, Jim. A lot of times a tech director has an agenda. He's got his method. He knows where he wants to move the district. Sometimes that clashes with what a instructional technology coach or specialist or the curricular side works. How do you successfully form these relationships and try to move some of these chess pieces around?
Well, why would a technology director have a plan that wouldn't include input from the teachers or the tech coaches?
That's usually the question that most tech coaches are asking.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know why that would happen. And there should, I mean, if you do a plan, right, you need to have those types of people. Now there's always bumps in the road or modifications based on funding and things like that. But I get those types of things, but I don't know. I don't see it happening without it.
Let me throw a situation at you. You hire a tech coach that's very, very Google. Your tech director is Microsoft focused. Two totally different philosophies on how to achieve the same goal, but you both know where the goal is.
Right. So what aspects of it? No. So I'm okay. So what you need to do is, what is the best tool for our school? So, and if one of them has to adapt, then that's what it has to be. So, I'm Google certified, I'm a Google certified trainer. So those types of things, and that doesn't impact my decision if I found out that Microsoft has a better tool. And like Jeff, you introduced me to Microsoft Teams. And I sort of like that, and I've been exploring that. And with our subscription to Microsoft Office, which we have to, I'm playing around with Microsoft Teams a little bit. So if we have to use, it's to me, and I think the technology directors always have to be open. It's the right tool for the job. So, you can use a pencil to teach writing, or you can use Microsoft Word, or I always say that I grew up learning how to word process on an Apple IIe computer on a green screen. You know what I mean? So, but I can still do word processing. So you got to find the right tool. But those conversations have to happen. And yes, there has to be, in any negotiation, there has to be there has to be, give and take. We could probably live in both worlds. We still have to have Microsoft, but, because we're teaching that in our curriculum, is that the best tool for everybody? I don't. In my school, we're a Google school, but we still have Microsoft Office on everybody's desktop.
Well, Jim, we certainly want to say thank you for being on the hot seat here. I appreciate it. And more importantly, I also appreciate the fact that every Wednesday you make the time out of your schedule to join us on the Tech Coach Roundtable meetings. We've been doing that every single Wednesday since going back to March when the whole COVID thing hit. And, if you guys are interested in joining us every single Wednesday at 8:30, we are here for our roundtables. It is a great group of tech coaches and tech directors that are here to support each other. You can head on over to teachercast.net/TCN form, teachercast.net/TCN form. Fill out a little registration form. We will get you in. We've had over 40 tech coaches already sign up today. I feel like a telethon saying this stuff. But the point is, there's a lot of great stuff here. And, I've been asking all day to tech coaches, what advice do you have for other tech coaches? Jim, let me put you back on the spot here and go, as a tech director, what advice do you have for tech coaches who are going to be working with teachers who are comfortable, scared, nervous, skittish, unsure, overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, and that just happens before lunchtime? What advice do you have for tech coaches as we go into a new school year?
So one of the things that I've always strived for is find something for that teacher that can be an immediate win and an immediate use in their classroom. And, it's whatever that may be. And so that they can take that one little piece of information that makes their life in their classroom easier and let them run with that, and then check in on them. Hey, how did that little tip or that little app or that little thing that I showed you how to do work in your classroom? But that all goes back to what you've been talking about, is just these conversations. So you have to sit and listen to that stressed out person, because they're going to say, that's what they're going through right now. I can't teach live. How do I stand in front of a computer, watch this Google Meet, and I've got 10 kids in my classroom, and I've got to deal with the 10 kids that are online at home, and I've got to do a new curriculum because I'm a brand new teacher. So, that sort of thing. So have those conversations. They're going to be nervous, especially new teachers. They're completely overwhelmed. I mean, Jeff, my daughter, she's starting a new class next week. She's a brand new, just out of college teacher.
Has she been in the classroom yet?
Yes, that's who was calling me a little bit ago.
Okay. We just did a session on new teacher orientation where we were talking about people who are starting with students who have never met their principals, been in their buildings, had a classroom.
Yeah, well, so they've had online meetings, so which is great. Her principal is amazing, reaching out to the teachers. But again, she doesn't know what kind of grade book they use or what kind of the student information system that they use. Do they use PowerSchool or something like that? So, those all of that, along with her lesson planning and streaming and now dealing with you must be 6 feet apart, is all stressful.
Guys, it certainly is a wonderfully weird time. We are here to support you guys as we are every single Monday on Ask the Tech Coach. We have our great Tech Coach network that we're building, and we want to say thank you guys all for joining us. We are not done yet. We still have another hour and a half to go of 3 amazing sessions. Jim, I know things are going crazy. I'll let you get back to wrestling. Active Directory. What are you up to these days, my friend?
I'm actually my son's getting ready to go to college, and he asked me to take him fishing one more time. So we're gonna.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being the guinea pig administrator. If anybody has any questions they'd like to grill Jim on, you can find him at Beagley Tech, BEEGHLEY Tech. Jim, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on our Wednesday meetings. I appreciate your time, my friend.
All right.
You've been listening to the TeacherCast Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter @TeacherCast or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.